Happy late afternoon, you anime fiends. It's your host, Asher, aka Pinoy Grigio, and I'm joined by the usual suspects, Jenny, aka Tiger Lily,
Hi.
and Rob, aka JSB Zen.
Hi.
And we're here to talk about uh, just a wild anime. I wasn't expecting it from Jenny a couple weeks ago. Um, and I'm sure it wasn't what she expected either.
Never is.
It never is. It never is for people who discover it for the first time. Um, and of course, the anime we're talking about is FLCL or Fooly Cooly. Um, but before we get onto that subject, I have to do the usual. Um, what have you guys been watching? What have you guys been consuming? Anything exciting in your lives? I know it's been a little bit of a hot minute. Um, let's start with Rob.
Hi.
Any shenanigans?
Even though we did take like a break or at least delayed this, I actually haven't watched like a ton of stuff.
Uh huh.
I did finish Demon Slayer season 3.
Ooh, what'd you
Which
think?
you multiple did their patented hour-long final episode
Yeah.
of their seasons. It was good. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite arc.
Yeah.
Um, but I appreciate one like it's a really fast-paced arc, it feels like.
Oh,
And they
lot
jump into the
happens.
action like almost immediately.
Mhm.
Like as soon as like episode 2 hits, it's just like here we are, we're in it. The fights are happening, everything's popping off.
Yep.
There is no breaks. Like you don't get a single moment of fresh air for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Which I really enjoyed that. And I also like the villains. I know you mentioned this before where it's just like they're villains for the sake of being villains.
Yeah.
Like we're not getting into like any ways for me to like empathize with them or anything like that, especially coming off like the last season, right?
Yep.
Which had my favorite villains of the whole show so far.
Yes.
But it also felt kind of refreshing just to
Absolutely.
have evil motherfuckers just fucking shit up for the sake of fucking shit up. I'm about it.
Absolutely.
Like, let's just throw hands, sure.
Mhm.
I did like the Hashiras at play. Tokito was one that really grew on me.
Tokudo's
And
so sweet.
I think he's my favorite Hashira.
Hmm.
I think well, I think Tengen is still one. I think Tokito comes very close.
Hmm.
There's something about that sweet boy that I'm just like, I get it, man. I understand.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I didn't think I would like Mitsuri as much as I do. She's lovable.
She's really lovable.
Yeah, yeah. And like for once you have a character that like doesn't have a super tragic backstory,
No.
right? Like hers is pretty like kind of chill. Like it sucks for her, but
It
it's
sucks.
not like oh I lost my family and
Yeah.
I'm on this quest for revenge or anything like that. It's a very like simple story that she has, and I'm like, all right,
Not
I
every.
could take some sweetness here, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Not everything
Um,
is doom and gloom, I guess.
Yeah, not everything is doom and gloom, which
Mhm.
like I'm okay.
Hmm.
So I really enjoyed that. I ended up watching it. I ended up watching that season twice, actually.
Whoa.
And I didn't even mean to. So I had finished watching it,
Mhm.
or no, I got to the finale, and I was kind of holding off watching it. And then Drew had hit me up, where he had started watching it like last week.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool, enjoy it. Let me know what you think. And then randomly one night I got off of work and I'm trying to finish playing through Xenoblade Chronicles, and I'm just like, Drew, what are you doing? He's like, I'm watching Demon Slayer. I'm like, let's just hop on Discord. I'm just gonna hang out
Yeah.
real quick. Maybe I'll throw it on in the background and we'll do a watch along while I'm playing Xenoblade. And then all of a sudden it's just like again, you get to like episode 2, there's no break points, and then I black out, and 3 hours later we have watched the entire show,
Yep. Yep.
finale
Yep.
included. So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing.
Did Drew also like it?
Yeah, he really enjoyed it. He last episode he almost died. Like the tears were flowing. I
Yeah.
have not seen Drew this like broken in probably since we watched like A Silent Voice or something like that.
Ooh, banger.
Um Yeah, it was sweet tears for me to consume. I was like, oh, this is a good night,
Mhm.
since I love making my friends cry.
Yeah,
Um, so
love
yeah,
that.
that's that.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh, what about you, Jenny? Any delicious media consumed? Anything?
Um, so I'm on a mission to find a romance isekai that's been animated.
Okay.
I've been reading a lot of them, so I haven't actually been watching him. So I'm trying to. I just found out that there was this one manhwa that I used to read, now available on Netflix as an animated show.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, called Lookism. I really liked reading it. Some of the artwork was kind of like borderline horror,
Oh,
so
okay.
Okay.
I was kind of interested to see what that would look like as a Netflix show. But the reason I'm on this mission is because I got a new treadmill and I've been enjoying walking on a very steep incline on it, just to get some extra steps in
Hmm.
because I'm like working a lot of hours, very long days.
Yeah.
So this has been my one of my ways to get like an extra workout in. Like I still do my morning workouts, but then like that means I just sit sedentary for about 14 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm like I still need to stretch my legs at some point. So 20 minutes of an episode might be a worthwhile investment.
Yep.
Um, so I was checking out ReZero, um,
Oh.
but the next ones on my list are Konosuba, I think is one, which
Uh-huh.
I've heard that one's like almost like a parody of or a
Yes.
satire of isekai, so
It's
I'm
pretty
excited for
funny.
that.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. And then the other one that's on my list is one that I've realized you've mentioned, but it came up on a top list. Was Kiss Him Not Me.
Yeah. Kiss him, not me.
So yeah, that'll be my next couple of missions. The other ones were kind of flops. I tried out one that was called like, oh gosh, Kimi no something, and that one's on
Why
Netflix.
does this sound so familiar already? I feel like a lot of things
No.
start with Kimi no.
You know.
um, and then I also have been playing Diab 4, so
Ooh.
that one has also been kind of a time suck for me. Um,
Easy time suck.
I did watch John Wick 4, so of all those big blockbuster hits that have hit so far, I have not seen Spider-Man yet.
I
That
saw it
face.
again.
I'm watching it again this weekend.
Hell yeah.
It is
Um,
up until Spider-Man. John Wick 4 was my favorite movie of the year, by the way.
mhm.
And then
I
Spider-Man
remember hearing that.
dethroned it. Um, Rob hasn't seen any of the John Wicks yet, so
I know. I
um,
need to.
I gotta put
It's
him.
basically like anime,
Yeah,
but live
Yeah.
action.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Did you like the
Did you
fourth
say?
film? Oh, what?
I,
Oh no. Go ahead. Go ahead. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was gonna change the topic real quick.
Did you like the
well,
fourth film, Jenny?
yeah, I like all the John Wicks, honestly.
Yeah.
But the third one I think was my favorite so far,
Really?
honestly.
The fourth one's my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah. Okay,
But I do
okay.
love the third one. I do actually love the third one.
Hmm.
What were you gonna say, Rob?
Oh, I was gonna go back real quick. Did you say you started ReZero?
Hmm.
How do you like it?
She doesn't.
Fair. Same.
He's doing
Same.
this, and I'm like,
Oh,
Same.
Rob is the same. Rob is the same.
Big same.
Okay. I have never watched it. I just know it's got a lot of
It
fans.
it was a really big anime for when it premiered. Like
Yeah,
it
it
took
was.
over everything. Everybody
Yeah.
was all in on ReZero.
Oh,
And
I remember.
I checked it out and I'm just like, I am not. I don't know what you guys are. Why are y'all here?
Yeah.
And then just I don't know. So I was just very curious to see where it landed for you. Am I the crazy one or
I mean, that doesn't rule that out still, but
that's as long as I have a comrade here.
comrade,
Yeah.
comrade.
Haters unite.
Not the haters. Not the hater brigade.
Yeah, actually, the protagonist makes me think of what is that guy from frickin' Noragami? Yanni?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yato.
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 He kind of reminds me of him, just
Mhm.
not as mean, I guess, or whatever, cold,
Yeah.
but kind of like that loser.
Yeah.
Damn.
Very much so. Very much a loser.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pretty much it. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. I'm
And you, sir?
What have you
And
consumed?
me, what have I consumed? Well, Spider-Man. If you haven't watched Across the Spider-Verse, you're really missing out. It is a feat of animation. So, if you are a fan of anime, usually, animation techniques in general is adjacent. You will thoroughly admire Across the Spider-Verse, and not only that, it's just we don't make movies like it anymore. It makes me so sad to see like not as much expressionistic cinema, I guess, like ones that do not care about like adhering to very like realism rules, I guess. Like even animation like establishes, I guess, like rules within its world in terms of like how light behaves or how color behaves. But then like when you go into Across the Spider-Verse, it's just like how do the characters feel? How does this scene feel? And then making it look that way. It's like I always talk about this. It's like the Italian horror cinema of the 70s. Like it doesn't make sense for the light to be red, but the light is red because that's how it feels right now. you know? And I think it's so cool that Across the Spider-Verse just nails it. They don't even have to be talking. These two characters could be sitting there, you could be seeing the watercolors in the background, and then you just start crying. It's so beautiful, it's so stunning. And I don't know, it's a feat of cinema. So I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, if you see one movie this up to this point this year, that's the movie I would recommend.
And try to catch it in theater. I think it's a really good theater experience.
Absolutely, try to catch it in theater.
There are some movies that are just like being in a theater kind of enhances it.
Yep.
Right, and that is one of them.
Yes, I completely agree. Another film I caught actually, and I caught it because multiple people have told me it's a very Asher core film. Is Elemental, Pixar's latest movie. You know, I wasn't like crazy about like catching Elemental, but it was on my list because I like Pixar. Pixar makes good movies. Generally speaking, they figured out a formula, and like, you know, it'll get tears out of me, and I enjoy that. I feel a catharsis, and then I move on with my time, and then certain ones hit a little bit more depending on like maybe what their themes are, or like what the story is, or who the characters are. So it was funny, like leading up to this film, all I really knew was like the trailers, which I don't give a lot of like credit to because Pixar trailers are always bad. They are notoriously terrible trailers. And so I was like, yeah, so I'm still gonna watch it anyway. And then I read one thing online that said the fire dad, is voiced by a Filipino guy who had worked in like animation for Peterson's like previous Pixar films. So I was like, oh yeah, cool. Some Filipino representation, you know, in front of the camera, and yeah, that's neat. And then I went out with a friend one night. We were hanging out. I think we were eating Reuben sandwich or something, and then he was like, "Have you seen Elemental yet?" And I was like, "No, but I'm planning to." And he said, I need you to watch it. There are parts in that film that remind me of late night conversations we have had before. That, you know, I feel like you can relate to a lot. Because for those who don't know, Elemental is, and I kind of, it's not doing as well as people had hoped. And while on one hand I love that it's covering this subject matter, I kind of wonder if it would have done better if it was more upfront about what it's about, and that's like a first generation immigrant story. Like, and that is surprise, that is the underlying like theme of it, is that like her father and mother are from a place where it is only fire, and they come to a place that is like a mixed race community. And that plays into part of the like you can't be with these people because we just don't mix together. That's why we have our own part of town. You think of like Chinatown, you know, or like certain parts like that within America, and the things that this character say hit me in a way. It was really.
I did not think that movie was like that.
Nope.
No idea.
Me either. And multiple people walked up to me and were like, "Hey, this is what this. You know, I can't wait to see what you think." And I went there and watched it by myself. I made time
Not by
for.
your lonesome.
I went all by my lonesome. Made time for myself. There were like 4 other people in the theater because I went on the weekday, like one of the earlier showings, and I sat there, and there was one other person in my row, and I hope they didn't notice me sobbing. Because like there would be a character who talks about how they feel being like the first generation immigrant like child, and like you think about like what your parents have sacrificed when they got here, and then like the concept of like how could you ever repay something like that, and I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. So it's like,
man.
yeah, it was a rough watch, but I mean that in like a very good way, you know, like it was like it's really cool, but it's also like a really good love story in that the I feel like a lot of love stories go through like these like big things, and then the resolution is that they're now together, right? Like that's like the end of the movie. Bam, we're together. This movie feels more like we're kind of together, but we're unsure because of the like territory that's involved here, and they get to know each other. They go on what I would consider dates, you know, and like they go through the progression of like, will this relationship work? And I think that's pretty healthy for a kids movie. You know, so yeah, I recommend Elemental. I know it's like a little bit lukewarm on the critical side, but you know, yeah, if you like movies, you like movies. I've also been on the Diablo 4 grind. Been having fun with that. I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering. I did the Lord of the Rings set came out recently. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything like, have I watched anything anime side? Am I caught up on Skip and Loafer? I might be like behind. I might be behind like 1 or 2 episodes.
How do you like Skip and Loafer?
Love Skip and Loafer. Love Skip and Loafer. If Oshi no Ko didn't exist, it would be my favorite anime of the season so far.
He's skipping and loafing, y'all.
Yeah, I love Skip and Loafer. Skip and Loafer is, for those who don't know, it's in the romance genre, but it's so like well paced, I guess, for a romance. Like there aren't very big exclamations of love in it. It's very slow and methodical, and you know, kind of like how some normal people how some normal people go from being friends to like people who like each other in that way. That's how I feel like the characters are. They just don't immediately like crush on each other to start. It feels like there's something forming like, here.
The goal in the beginning is not, oh, he's hot, let me make him my boyfriend. It's just like we just slowly somehow became friends, and then
you want to be more.
Time, it just develops over. You know?
Yes, you want to be more, and it's a girl who's from the countryside, gets accepted to like a Tokyo high school, and that's where she thinks she'll be better off. And she runs into a guy who is a pretty popular guy, and for one reason just becomes like not enamored. I don't want to use the word enamored because, like I said, it's not like he fell head over heels for her, but rather it was like, there's something interesting about this girl, so I kind of want to hang out with her. And then like the other characters, what's up?
It was almost like a source of like comfort he felt.
Yeah.
Right? Because like when you see him, he's just kind of drifting.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's not all there. Like his mind is elsewhere. When you have other scenes with him later, it's just like you could tell he's very detached
Yep.
right? And when he runs into her, it's just like this one moment where he finally feels like
Yeah.
feels pretty good. Like this is good vibes.
Yeah, there's good
You know?
vibes.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can relate, people can relate in that I feel as if most people have met people like that in their lives. You know, like you hit it off. Um, even if they're different. Which is what those two are. They're very different people. So like some people just, it doesn't make sense to them that those two are like hanging out a lot. Um,
And that's a theme that's like further explored with all the side characters too,
Yep.
right? As you start to see the entire friend group sort of form,
Yeah.
right? It's all unlikely people that would not be friends, that you wouldn't think would be friends, right? And that are very different from one another.
Yep.
But they all find like some common connection that brings them together, and they feel, comfort around each other.
Dude,
It's crazy.
Dude, what's her name? My favorite character in the show right now. The one that I knew right away, because she's the
one that was
unlikable
acting
character
like
to start.
She was acting like a bitch.
Yeah, I was like, there's this character that is just so jealous of the two leads, and then like is trying to manipulate things, and I was like shirking, like I would like hunch over. I was like, oh no, this is like, I understand this character a lot, because that was kind of like my high school was like, oh, you have to navigate the social structure of everything. It's how other people think about you really matters. And luckily, I'm now reached adulthood where that is just stupid. But like, I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It'd be like there is not serotonin that I receive from accomplishments recognized, but it comes from a genuine place now, as opposed to like, I have to do this thing not because I like it, but because other people will like it. It's more of a, oh, I like this, so it doesn't need a reward, but when other people like that I like it, or like what I've done with it, that's like a cherry on the sundae. It's much more self-rewarding. And so in that regard, I see a lot of myself in that character. She plays volleyball and she's good at it, and I can't help but feel like, oh man, I feel like I got into basketball for like a similar reason. I could be popular, I could be good at this thing, and then people will like me. And people did like me, but it's like, it was the wrong reason to get into that activity. So, long story short, please watch Skip and Loafer. It's almost done. You can binge the whole thing. It's a great anime. I haven't caught up to Oshinoko.
Fucking up.
I know. I've seen some screenshots. And then I'm trying. Is there any other anime that I've consumed? Any other? No, I think surprisingly just Fooly Cooly.
Uli, kuri, kuri, kara.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. All right. Shall we get into the conversation of Fooly Cooly? Yes. Are we ready? Are we ready to?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm never ready.
It's
fair.
it was like one of those things that just like I said, I can't emphasize this enough. When those words came out of your mouth a couple weeks ago, that you were like, the next anime we're picking is Fooly Cooly, I was just like, yeah, my like eyebrows arched. I was like, well, one, I wasn't expecting this from Jetty, but like, two, yeah, of course it came from like a random goon that was like, this anime is important to me, because Fooly Cooly has a penchant for walking into a lot of adolescent boys' life and just like stamping its position into like just very a formative place in their head. I could point to, I couldn't count the amount of friends on my like both my hands that could go into a deep conversation about Fooly Cooly, and how when I watched it as a kid, and there's just something about it that I felt this kind of way, and they could write fucking essays about Fooly Cooly. So it's always fascinating for someone to watch it who has never watched it in those formative years, to get that kind of like fresher adult take, and especially since I haven't watched it in a long time myself either. So what is the initial thing, I guess, here, Jenny, before we get into kind of like the weeds of it? I wanna definitely cover like how our own childhoods like relate to it, but off the bat, I would love to get like how you just felt overall about it, and are you glad that your friend kind of like mentioned it and that you picked it for the anime this week?
Yeah, so he's my employee, and I'm gonna fire him next week. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god!
You heard it here first.
Holy!
I was like, good God. No, at first I was kind of having regrets. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah.
Um,
Fair enough.
and then something about the ending of it made it all worth it. And I think as much research as I had to do for it also speaks volumes to what a piece of art this is. Whatever we hear about anime as art, we think of beautifully visual or visually beautiful, like Suzume or,
Sure.
You're like,
Um,
bro.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or Demon Slayer, even
Mhm.
even though it's a shonen, it still has beautifully animated
Ooh,
fight
beautiful.
scenes. I think what is it, Madhouse or something, that's like really good at doing like beautiful animations.
Yeah.
Studio.
I mean, they did
So-
Paranoid Agent.
Yeah, okay, that's a great one too.
Yeah.
So this one was a piece of art without being pretty. So that's its own genre of art, right? You have Dadaism.
Yeah.
So this absolutely falls into that. Also, a style of Japanese art. It's almost like the opposite of feng shui, but it means like chaos. And I can't remember what the actual word is, because it's also a very nonsensical word for that reason, kind of
Yeah.
like Dada, right?
Yeah.
Maybe in the course of this,
I didn't know there was an opposite word to feng shui. I love that.
I think it's called like wabi sabi or something like that.
Huh.
Wasabi.
But it means like it's like the opposite of feng shui, where it's absolutely chaotic. There is no rhyme or reason to something. You just do it because it feels like it. you
Yeah.
know? And that's kind of what this was, and it was kind of cool to see it, what the effects of it were. Right.
Mhm.
This is going to be something I'm not going to forget. It is.
Yeah.
It hit a lot of people in their formative years. One thing that I kind of thought about, as Paul was talking about, because he saw it when he was younger, also
Yeah.
on Adult Swim and everything. He said it was acceptable when I was younger.
Acceptable.
Like, he just watched it and he went, okay.
How does he feel about it now? Did he
Well, he's
rewatch
like,
it with you?
He did, and he was like, he had to put his adult lenses on and watch it this time.
Yeah.
He couldn't. And I was like, gosh, it was almost like you saw a unicorn back then. We saw it through this lens that's like, you put on the 3D glasses and all these weird visuals make sense, but then now you're an adult, you can't find those glasses anymore. And now you're like, I can't see what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So there was, kind of like taking out the whole part of it has to make sense. Like, trust me, my research was all about how does it make sense.
Yeah.
You can't, and so then what do we talk about? But we still want to talk about it.
Yes.
And I think that's a good way to kind of define the themes of Fooly Cooly. We still want to talk about what we don't really want to talk about.
Ooh. Yeah. I love that. And that's really good to hear, because it's so out there that, like, I could definitely see people just be like, this ain't it. This is not it for me. Like, as soon as it like
chaos
flies
is
up
a
there.
really good description, really, honestly, because it really is what it is, and either that's gonna like attract you into like wanting to watch more because you're like, what is happening here?
Yep.
Right, or it could push you away, right? So like it being very chaotic was why I originally watched it.
Yeah.
Because I did watch it when I was like 13 on Adult Swim. And I caught the first episode, and I'm just like, "What is happening here?"
Yeah.
Like when they go into the shot of like the manga panels and shit, it's just like insane. Like my little brain at the time, like I was feeding on that. I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
This is I've never seen anything like it, and
Correct.
that's what I loved about it, right? And all of the themes around it just kind of like went over my little pea-brained
Yep.
head, and I'm just here for what kind of wacky hijinks Fooly Cooly is going to pull off the next episode, right? And then getting introduced to the pillows as well. Like that was
The
a huge
pillows.
thing.
What a
That was a huge thing in my high school life.
definitely an early because we see that a lot with uh just like anime now. Like now that we've had like a history of it, it's right. It's like who the fuck did we just see that for Makoto Shinkai?
Suzume.
So, but the who does the music? Radwimps.
Right.
So like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
see Radwimps and we associate, you know, with Makoto Shinkai, and then and that his anime, and then I think about like Asian Kung Fu Generation and the works of Yuasa, and then now it's like the pillows are quintessentially tied to
Fooly Cooly.
Fooly Cooly.
Yes.
It is fascinating to have bands have an identity that is like quintessential to the anime, you know. And that's how I feel like the pillows are. Like every time there was the build up to what's his name, Takun, like doing some sort of robot bullshit, that pillows theme would kick in.
Yes.
His Evangelion bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned Evangelion, by the way. The director of the series is a mentee of Hideaki Anno.
This was the project they did right after Eva.
Yep, this is the project they did right after Eva. He hasn't really done much since, but that's because he's been helping Anno with doing the Eva movies, which have been like 2 decades in the making, pretty much. I really want him to do something else. I think he very clearly has like a lot of talent in him to do some crazy stuff, and he's on an interesting different wavelength from Anno, but retains a lot of the technique and form, because like if you watch one of my favorite anime around the time, which was His and Her Circumstances, it has a very similar art style, with like, if you take all the chaotic parts of His and Her Circumstances, that's like the feel that Fooly Cooly has. So it gave me a little bit of whiplash rewatching it again, because I was like, I kind of want to watch His and Her Circumstances again, you know, especially seeing what's her name make those pouty lip faces. I was very like, yeah, I remember this from like His and Her Circumstances too. But yeah, okay, these are all like really exciting things. What's up, Jenny?
I just want to correct myself on what I defined wabi sabi is. It's actually appreciating beauty of imperfection, impermanence, and incomplete, which actually works really well for Fooly
Yes.
Cooly.
It does. It really
Still
does.
applies.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. We learned something today. Yeah, its influence is like undeniable too. So like even post, so obviously all that crazy stuff, Hideaki Anno, around its creation, but even one of the greats, or who people consider one of the greats today, Fujimoto, who wrote Chainsaw Man, has gone on record on saying that Chainsaw Man is wicked Fooly Cooly. It
Wicked,
is
Fooly Cooly.
Yeah.
Huh.
Also another, right, a tale of adolescence, and similar thing when he transforms into Chainsaw Man, that chainsaw rips from the middle and comes outward, you know?
The dog from the last episode, the mechanical dog. Yeah, that's like it's Pochita.
Pochita. See? So like,
Oh my god.
its influence is like undeniable. And so it's just it's weird how I like forget it exists until someone like brings it up, because while I do love it, I don't watch it like yearly. It's even though it would be easy to watch yearly, and I admire it. But I think a lot of it is also I watched it a little bit later than everyone else, like more into my late teens is actually when I watched it. Whereas like Takun is like middle school, right? Yeah. And that's where I feel like it hit like a lot of people. So like, with that being said, in what ways do you guys like connect to the series? Like, it could be easy to like go through what the entire thing is about, but it's also just so much that like who knows what kind of crazy direction we can go. It might just be better to be like, well, what do we see in it? Because it is so important to each individual person, and it's so important to them for different reasons, or it's so interesting to them for different reasons. And so like, you know, what do you see or what do you feel with Fooly Cooly, Jenny? Like, were you able to take really great things out of it, you know?
Um, I think the uncomfortableness of it
Mm-hmm.
is always going to be something. It's kind of like cathartic in a weird way.
Yeah.
So sad things and horror are also situations we feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And then trying to put your finger on why it made you uncomfortable is also worth exploring.
Mm-hmm.
The unpredictability of each episode, so you don't have a linear story. I think it's something that's underrated when it comes to the rules of being able to break the rules of anime in this way.
Yeah.
I really liked certain characters in certain moments. It was kind of funny. Like there are some times where I really liked what's her name?
Haruko.
Haruko? Yeah. There were times when I really liked her. I was just like, she said something kind of sweet, and then other times I was just like, she's absolutely ridiculous. Why did I think she was kind of sweet?
She's batshit insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Even the kid too. There were times where I liked him, and then there were times where I was like, what a brat, you know, what a kid.
Can't believe kids be like that.
Yeah, the girl too. I mean, everyone. The robot.
Mm-hmm.
Even the
Conti.
robot. There
Conti.
were times where I was just like, oh.
Lord Conti.
Like, oh my god. Lord Conti. Yeah, talk about Evangelion reference all day right there. Yeah, so that was probably the outstanding things. The father was such a weird one. I had no idea what to make of him. Yeah, and I think the fact that it had me I asked so many questions about it. I think that's the thing too. I think once somebody was criticizing the concept of a cliffhanger, they're like, I want the story to be complete. I want it to be done. I want my questions to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone like attacked this guy.
Oh, no.
Well, it's like,
and they were like, well, why? No. That's the beauty of it. That's the cool part. And we're all having a conversation about it because no one actually knows the answer. So we're all discussing it. Like, you don't do that with a movie that has a nice little bow on top of it.
there are situations where it is like, I don't think you would be satisfied with the answer, you know, like, and the allure and mystery, the fun that you were having in it, you won't realize like how much you'll miss it when it's gone because your question is answered. Like that's how I felt about like, it's funny that you mentioned that you watched John Wick earlier. John Wick is so dense in terms of its world that like you can ask questions about it, like why is this character this way, why are these guys this way, and it's like, I always ask those people, is like, would you be happy if you knew the answer, or are you happy that he just kind of exists and then does this thing and they feel like very real motivations, you know, and like you lose the mystery of that character. The character had an air of mystery already, and that's what made them exciting. And so, like, with you bringing that up in Fooly Cooly and everyone jumping on this person, this poor guy, for wanting to know the answer, it's a fascinating take. I mean, like, obviously you don't want things to be too... What's the word I'm looking for here? Like, you know, so many people get frustrated when they don't get enough answers, I guess. I think there can be a delicate balance of it. And some people want everything tied up in a perfect knot. I
like how I said bow and he says not. Like, as if those are two. So the funny thing is that they're very similar, but they have very different connotations.
Yeah, they do have very different connotations. It's like I don't know. I think every story, there's some stories that I guess should be like everything should be tied up, but then maybe some stories that's not what it calls for, right? And here's the thing about Fooly Cooly is that we had 2 seasons after it, right? That were made how many more years later?
Like 15.
Like 15 more years later.
Because they came out in like 2018, I think.
Yeah.
And Fooly Cooly came out in 2003.
That's wild.
Somewhere around there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it is very curious because I haven't found. I was thinking about finding the time to watch the second and third season, but I haven't been able to find the time.
Yeah.
And actually, the primary reason I wanted to watch the second and third season, because I've heard it's mostly like most people say it's bad. Most people do not like it, but I have one friend who finds Fooly Cooly very formative to them, and they actually love season 2 and season 3. And when they explained to me why, I was so interested. Because all I ever hear from everyone else is that it's like bad. Nobody's ever explained to me why it's bad. Mm-hmm. Understandably so, because maybe if I decide to watch it, I don't want to get spoiled. But the person who explained to me it's good did so without spoiling it and was very succinct about like it's good for these reasons. And I was just like, huh, it's on my list now. Having watched the first season, Jenny, did you end up watching the second and third season?
Nope.
Would you? Now that you're done with this first one?
I might, just because I'm like, what more can you add to this, or what can you do differently?
Yeah.
Because now I'm already like when I first watched it, I had no idea what to expect. I was not ready. Right now, I'm like, maybe I'm a little ready.
Yeah.
And also, I'm just wondering if it's like if I'm not the audience for it because of the age. But then since this one came out 15 years later, this one might actually be my age, like you know, the second season. So, because if you're talking about how old he was, the main character is in the first one, then think about mentally 15 years later. It's like when we came out with Harry Potter when we were about 11 years old, about the age that Harry Potter was, and then they came out with Cursed Child, and then everyone's an adult. You know, it's like okay, maybe that is for me. So I'm wondering what the message would be at that point too.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, there is a message of some sort. So I'm like. That's the only thing I'd be curious about, and it's a fairly easy watch because it's so short.
Yeah, exactly. Very curious. What about you, Rob? Like, so you have a more you have the more standard, I guess, experience. You watched it when you were 13.
I watched it right as it came out here in the U.S. Like I'm pretty sure I caught the first airing of it.
Yeah.
Because I remember the commercials for it were just batshit insane, and I was like, "What is this?" And again, like being 13 when I watched it, it really didn't make a lot of sense. Like a lot of the themes kind of went over my head, in lieu of like the nonsense that is happening in front of me, right? Like I'm so caught up in like the actual visuals of all of it. But one thing that always that I took from it was especially around the character Nina Mori, right? And it's a character that like all the adults are telling her like how mature she is for her age, right?
Yep.
In a part of me watching Fooly Cooly at the time, and the message that I kind of took away from it was this idea of like, stop trying to be older than what you are, right? Like remember that you are a kid, it kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And that her storyline really spoke to me in that way. And it's just like on the inside she's kind of like she has these feelings, right? But she doesn't want to vocalize them, right?
Is Nina Mori the glasses one?
Yeah, the glasses girl.
Yeah, she's my favorite. She's my favorite part. Yep.
And it's like she's trying to be mature about it, so that means I can't talk about my feelings or express what I really want about my parents getting a divorce and whatnot. And by the end of that episode, or not by the end of it, but really around the middle, right, where her and Takun are like going through it in the classroom. And she finally shouts out like, "Because my mom and dad is gonna be there," right? And how important it means to her, and like she finally kind of broke through that. Right. That always stood out to me. Right. As someone that also like keeps a lot of things in, or has been like reinforced by adults saying, "Oh, you're very mature for your age," and I'm not really like getting a chance to learn how to express the things that I am feeling, and it's okay to do that. Right, and feeling safe to do that.
Well, so that moment is so cool because I think like that she lashes out in that way. But then Takun responds in a way that a kid would respond. And that's almost like like why does that matter? You know, like almost like unempathetic, like towards it, like what's the big deal? You know, because like, and then that's when it like escalates to like that weird like monster battle.
Right, it shifts over to her now. Right, like she kind of becomes the main character for this episode. She gets the cat ears, and then the robot comes out of her head. Right.
Jenny.
Hi.
Hi.
It reminded me of the first Mob Psycho fight in the school.
Yeah. With the hair guy.
That's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's absolutely absurd. A lot of Mob is actually very absurd. I'm wondering if there was some influence there because it was also a fight in a classroom, where one had more mature problems, I guess. You know, and the other one was just, "I'm just a kid and life is a nightmare."
Yep, exactly. Yep.
We're gonna get banned for that one.
You didn't say enough of the song. Don't worry. I think we'll be okay.
But yeah, that was like my strongest takeaway watching it the first time. And I've watched it many times since then, like at various stages of my life. And I always get something new out of it. And I always see it like differently, or I'll listen to people like hearing like Elias talk about it, right? Like really put like another perspective into my brain and like set a different lens for viewing it. You know what I mean? Picking up as I get older, like picking up more about like the idea of puberty and the sex and all that stuff that is apparent in this show, right? It just like hits differently as you grow older and you look back and you're just like, okay, I see this now. I see what we're doing.
The awkwardness of these feelings.
The awkwardness of these feelings and navigating through that, right? So like every time I watch the show, I'm like more and more impressed by it. Right? It's wacky, it's insane, but something about it will stick out to you and stick with you, right? I feel like the show has a bunch of different messages that it's telling, and it's like, what are you getting out of it, you know?
Exactly. So I guess I didn't really ask that question, right? Like what have you guys gotten out of it, like on Rob's like rewatch, but then also on Jenny's like first time watch? Like obviously you like it, but like in what reasons do you like it? And like I'm the type of person that doesn't view art as so like, not all art immediately changes you. Some art it takes like multiple kinds of art to like get an idea in your head to like reinforce it. But like do you feel a change, I guess is what I'm trying to say, with Fooly Cooly on your first rewatch, Jenny? Or like what did you get like this time, Rob, that's different from before that maybe you admire? I know I asked 2 questions, but let's start with the one with Jenny. Like, this is your first time watching it. Like, do you feel like you feel enlightened in some way?
That's a tough
Or is
one.
that too big of a word?
First thing that came to mind was that I can't, no matter what I say, I can't say that it was wrong. Like they did anything wrong, because there is no right or wrong in this one. So that's like if you were ever to pull out a trump card and be like, hey, what was the best anime of all time? Someone pulls that one out and they're gonna go, what? No, because it doesn't, because it does, because it doesn't. And it won't, and it can't, but it will, and it does.
It won't, it won't, it can't, but it will. That's how I feel about living life.
And so does that kid, you know, going through his life. Um, I got to view adolescence and coming of age in a completely different lens, a
Mhm.
different medium. I'm used to the Western styles of telling that story, right? The
Yep.
first thing that came to mind when it came to a coming of age tale is pretty much every book we were forced to read between middle school to high school, like through high school.
Just like what we
You've,
mentioned before the stream started. Perks of being a
you've
wallflower.
got, yeah, Perks of Being a Wallflower. What's the other one? Atticus Finch, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Um,
Yep.
uh, Catcher in the Rye.
Ah, yep. I like Catcher in the Rye. I'm one of those guys.
Um, there's another one that's actually about the perspective of, and this is actually where it kind of, I kind of wondered if this lens too in terms of interpreting Fooly Cooly, but it's coming of age for a autistic kid, like severely autistic kid.
Mhm.
Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
I've never even heard of
Um,
that.
yeah, it's an interpretation of a kid who witnessed something and didn't really understood what he was witnessing
Mhm.
and how he has to work to interpret it.
Yeah.
Like he tries to solve the mystery of no one else would have seen as a mystery. They've been like, that's just life, you know? And he's
Mhm.
like, but was it?
Yeah.
And no one can explain it to him in a way that he understands either, because he also won't tell anyone,
Yeah.
right? So there's that, and that's I think a common theme. There's the poem to Turning 10 by Billy Collins, where
Mhm.
he talks about when he was a kid, he fell on the sidewalk and he felt like he should have glowed. Like as a kid, you felt invincible. So it was that moment when he realized he bled instead, you
Yeah.
know, that he grew up a little bit, you know, and how startling that discovery can be.
Interesting.
Um, so this put visuals to something that's usually just an emotional concept.
Yeah.
Awkwardness, confusion, became visuals, and we had to go through the experience. We didn't have a choice. Once you turned it on, you couldn't stop. Like you couldn't go, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
You couldn't have like stop halfway at the episode. You know, when that commercial break moment comes on, you couldn't
Mhm.
go, yeah, I'm gonna go pee and not come back.
And not come back. Dang, Jenny's been peeing
uh,
a long time.
Paul's just sitting there on his phone, like he's already sent me like 12 Instagram videos.
Yeah,
And he's like,
exactly.
what? But yeah, yeah, I'd say that's really what I gained from Fooly Cooly. It was a different medium of storytelling and method of storytelling for
Mhm.
a coming of age tale.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I love that. What about you, Rob?
Uh, I think what stood out a lot this time,
Mhm.
and I'll say like the last time I watched this was probably in my like mid-20s, so that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, the awkwardness stood out a lot. Like we mentioned it a lot, how like there are moments where these characters are just like they don't know what to really do, or they're just like really awkward around one another.
Yeah.
And it's like for some reason that hit a lot harder.
Yeah.
And like I feel those moments way more this time.
Ooh.
Maybe just being like, I don't know, just well into my 30s at this point, just thinking about being a kid and cringe moments and things like that. And it's
Mhm.
just like, yeah, this is this feels weird. This feels
Yeah.
awkward, but it's supposed to, right? Um, and I also the um the agent got with the eyebrows, him,
Yeah, the seaweed eyebrows.
the seaweed eyebrows,
Yeah.
right? And looking at him and like his relationship with his subordinate is very awkward to watch
Yeah.
as an adult as well, right? Like all the advances that he like makes towards her and stuff is just very uncomfortable in a way that didn't like set in when I was younger watching it,
Mhm.
right? And being like an adult at this point and just like, sir,
Yeah.
like reaching a hand over as he's like trying to hit on her. I'm just like, sir.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, there's something about like all of that stuff that just hits very differently
Mhm.
watching it now than when I did before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love that.
What
Like,
about you?
what
Sir?
about me?
Yeah.
What about me?
You haven't answered this question.
Well, so like, since last time I've watched it, I think
How many times have you watched it? Have you only watched it one time? Is this your second
this is
viewing
my
or
second viewing.
Second viewing. Okay.
This is my second viewing, which is wild. Um, it so at this point in my life, I'm more interested, I guess, like in the animation decisions. So like you definitely get that, like the decisions to, you know, have a camera that's rotating around the character as like
Yeah.
he's flying through the air, and then to like zoom in and be like, "Are we gonna kiss right now?" And then they hit the head, you know, like that. Do you know what that felt? Oh my god! So I'm gonna go into adolescent awkward story because that's what that scene feels like. It feels like adolescence awkward story.
Was you launched at somebody before?
I was not launched at someone for my first kiss, but I am the type of person that is like heavily. I I sometimes view my life, and I know this is common. Lots of people kind of see themselves in third person sometimes. Like, you know, I might be thinking about like we're recording this podcast, and then Jenny says something absolutely heinous, and I turn to the camera and I'm like, you know, like why'd she say that? And so like I'm the type of person that like depending on the media that I consume, sometimes it's just very influential to me. Everyone talks about that all the time, like how you know, video games cause violence in children or whatever, stupid stuff like that. But media does influence people, and it influenced me in a very bad way when I was a kid, because when I was going out with my first girlfriend and wanted to have my first kiss, a film that I watched a good amount when I was younger was Hitch, starring Will Smith.
All right.
You go 90, I come 10. You go 90, I come 10.
So, you know, you've said the exact thing I was going to point towards. I was on a date with this girl that, at this point, I had been going out with for a week, and we were playing tennis because tennis is one of my favorite sports, and we were having a good time, and I was like, being awkward. I was being like an awkward person. I was like, oh man, I want to kiss this girl, you know, and how do you set up the situation? And we're playing, we're having fun, and I'm being like really, I'm being really silly goose, and eventually we're sitting on the bench, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, I go 90, she goes 10, right? That's how this fucking works. This movie works. That's how this works. This is 100% how it works. And so I go 90, and I can see her smiling, and like I close my eyes and I'm like, oh, we're definitely about to kiss. She's gonna come to 10%. I go 90, she doesn't come to 10%. And so like I'm sitting there at 90%, very close to her face, and was expecting her to go 10%. And I back up.
No.
And I am so confused. And I'm embarrassed. And it happens again. Like I try it again, and it doesn't work until eventually by the end of this date I go the full 100 and we kiss. But like the next day she talks to me and she says, "If you want to kiss me, just kiss me." And I was like, I that scene gave me wartime flashbacks, and that's why that you know, that's one of those things that is the feeling. It was me hitting my head on something, feeling like a fucking idiot, you know, like it is that exact moment. It captures it really well. The show captures it maybe too well.
In all of this chaos, it's still very real.
It's still very real. And so the last time I watched it was before that moment.
Oh.
So
funny. Now
that I'm like in that moment, I'm like, I've had enough like awkward adolescent, you know, moments now that this is even more real. You know, like, and what's cool is that it encompasses like multiple facets of it, right? Like maybe a kid that's like more alone maybe someone can relate to that person more. But even the awkwardness of like the girl who is seen as like the more mature person and like is more popular, you know, has a little bit more of a social image to that she's so concerned with. Um, that I felt that I really like. I was like, oh man, I really resonate with this character more now that I feel like I realize I was that type of person. You know, um, yeah, it's really it's the same reason that I mentioned that girl from Skip and Loafer. It's like those were the stakes when I was a kid. You don't understand. Whatever I did socially mattered for the rest of my fucking life. You know, like it really was that. It's like, dude, it wasn't that serious. It's like it was that serious when I was that age, and so like, yeah, I appreciate it. I think a lot more now, and I don't think I'm gonna wait like plus a decade more to rewatch it. Especially since it's only 6 episodes. Come on, like get a little refresher, you know, a little bit in the future when I'm feeling like, you know, maybe a little nostalgic or if I feel awkward, you know, like we can revel in that feeling, because misery loves company. You know, and just I don't know, enjoy it.
Did everybody watch it dubbed?
I watched it dubbed.
Everybody watched dubbed? Nice.
I don't think I found a subbed. At least I quickly like, because I know it's not on Crunchyroll. I bought it through Amazon, and I don't think they have a subbed on Amazon.
Okay. I think Hulu has both.
Oh, okay.
If I remember, and the show is also free to stream on Adult Swim as well.
Oh, okay.
But that's the dub only. But I was gonna mention, this is a show that has like a really good dub and sub. Like I think both tracks are very, very good.
Yeah.
And like the localization that they did for the dub is really well done as well. Because there's a lot of like Japanese only jokes, as you can probably tell watching the show. There's a lot of puns and stuff that goes on, and I think like they nailed it perfectly for the English audience as well. And that's something that always stood out to me with FLCL. It's like, how do you have this show that is so chaotic, both visually and just verbally? Like, there's a bunch of shit that they're just spewing out of here.
Yep.
And how do you take all of that and translate it properly? And like, felt like they did a fantastic job on that stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm definitely, I'm not like, I'm in the camp that's not against dubs, but I also feel like there aren't so many, there's so few dubs that like really blow me away. And I would say FLCL like kind of blows me away, you know. I'll have to give it a little bit of time before I put it in the ranks of like Yu Yu Hakusho or Full Metal, but like it's quite good. It really is. Props to the team that you know, translated it
For sure.
and made it flow, you know, in animation with the characters. And if I'm not mistaken, there are a couple returning characters in seasons 2 and 3 that like the voice actors reprise their roles.
Nice.
In English. So I'm very curious to see that kind of stuff when I finally do tackle season 2 and season 3. God, I'm trying to think of what else, because it's such a short season that like, you know, we've covered like some of the like major points, and I'm trying to think of like what else we can talk about if we want to talk about like more stuff. Were there any questions on like y'all's mind in regards to the show that you would love to talk about?
I would. Your sharing of an anecdote kind of made me think of like what moments were uncomfortable, because I'm more aware, I guess, as an adult.
Yes.
There was a lot of against their will kind of a thing.
Yes.
In like, you know, he's being pulled all along on a journey, and then when he does decide to go on his own, she like rejects him.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, you know what, never mind, you're still a kid. Yeah, so there was So it made me think of the theme of like that's one definitely big thing that happens a lot when you are exploring that world of building a relationship with somebody who doesn't you don't even neither of you know what you want in the relationship.
Yes.
There was that all over. So did he want Haruko as a um mother figure or a big sister or to be his girlfriend, you know, wow, what a conflict.
Yep.
Um, did he want Mamimi to be his, you know, have a crush on him or not, you know?
Hmm.
Did he when he feigned indifference, was it actually indifference? Um, that is like a really big thing that happens a lot when you're growing up. I'm trying to like think of a good anecdote of like
Pay attention to me.
that experience. Huh?
Pay attention to me. I like that moment when she's like saying his older brother's name, and
Oh my God.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
she's
felt
just
the pain. I felt
yeah,
sad for him.
it hurts.
It did. I was
yeah,
like, oh my God, why would you do that now?
yeah, exactly,
Oh,
exactly. Mm.
but that's actually the moment she's the most honest.
Yes.
Yep.
She lies a lot in the entire story, or
Mm.
you know, whatever you can call it, story. She lies a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Uh huh.
She lies a lot, and then finally, that's the one moment she's actually being honest.
Hmm.
And then after that, she disappears.
Yep.
I think it's almost like she goes into that world of becoming an adult finally, or really leaving behind her innocence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, the what was the other one? So, um, all the kiss scenes,
Hmm.
um, none of them were romantic,
No.
and that very
Almost.
much reminds me, your especially with your story too, of like when someone has tried to kiss me or
Yeah.
something. So I'm on the other end of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was playing tennis with Asher. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Plot twist. What?
Y'all weren't ready for this. Rob
Truly
is
is a Fooly Cooly
Rob
episode.
is Jerry Springer. Oh my god.
Um,
Oh Lord.
just the sheer like you create the awkwardness though.
You do.
Like honestly, and that's you can't help it when you're trying to figure this stuff out as a teenager or
There's
preteen.
no like I find very I don't think I've met a person who has been very like, yeah, I knew it right away. You know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I had it all
That doesn't
figured out
exist.
from start to finish.
I have a friend who told me that he became roommates with somebody,
Hmm.
and this roommate was like a super charismatic. This is in college, by the way.
Yeah.
So this guy was his roommate was very charismatic. A lot of people like liked him. Girls definitely liked him. Whenever he had a crush on a girl, the girl definitely had a crush back.
Hmm.
And so when they were like drinking one night, this his roommate like tells him, you know, man, like there's never been a girl that I wanted to kiss that I didn't kiss. And my friend goes, oh, there was one for me.
Uh huh.
I tried to kiss her and she said no. And then I said, please.
Oh
And he's like, his friend was so shocked to hear this is a thing. And it's like, and
Pain.
the moment that everyone really gets the most out of that story is, you said please?
no.
It's the desperate.
Please.
I oh my god, I resonate with that story so bad because I've been in a similar situation where I have said like can like it's been the 100% wrong time to ask can I kiss you,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just I think they were like no, you know, like what's wrong with you. And I'm like, you're right. What's wrong with me? I'm so overwhelmed by like emotion, and I'm like a kid, and I don't know what I'm doing.
See,
Horn
okay,
starts
you got
popping out of his head.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
I'm feeling the emotion right now. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Please, I don't know why I said that. I don't know what's happening right now. You know, like you're caught up in the
that is
throes of that.
that is one thing I don't miss.
Hmm.
And it's been a long time now. Is the when that friend zone and you break out of that accidentally, or you try not to, and
Yeah.
then someone does or whatever. Whoo, that's been a
Hmm.
long time.
Hmm.
Um, but that definitely was reminiscent of that. Like in capturing the emotion of it. Oh,
Yeah.
of that panic that just sits and then you just carry it with you. You try to put a band-aid on it. It's just like no, everyone can tell.
Yeah.
Um, I think I likened it to a boner for the longest time
Oh.
because visual.
Oh yeah.
But
Visually speaking.
Visual.
Yeah.
emotionally, though, yeah, it's also a big like, it's nothing. Leave it alone. Acne was the same way.
Acne was the same way. Yeah.
Wearing your clothes tearing while you're in school.
Just ignore it. It's not there.
It's not there.
Everyone saw
Everything's fine.
it.
Yeah, so that such a great way it can bring out that emotion, right? That's really hard to capture and to remember. And keep in mind, it's probably a bunch of adults writing this too and putting this work together. So how did they did they sit around a circle and tell each other their most awkward adolescent stories and
I wish I was in that writer's
you're
circle.
You're like, oh man, I just feel like something's coming out of my body now because I'm just so awkward and uncomfortable.
Which
like,
one
do I have
was
a chest burster
Hideaki
about to come out
Anno's?
now?
Oh man.
What story did Hideaki Anno tell?
Oh boy.
It's Hideaki again, the robot.
And the fucking robot.
My dad. Just like, oh my god. That's so funny. Yeah.
Oh god.
It really does capture it so well. And there's almost an even better appreciation for it because it is chaotic and you don't know when it's going to happen. Because at that moment, if you have ever felt it, you did not see it coming. You know? So I don't know. That's so rad that your friend told that story, and it's funny that he told it to a friend who made it easy, right? Because I can definitely see that, but it's cool that he could confide in him. Yeah. Anything else? Any other things we want to think about? Jenny?
Hey.
I have a question about the music. So you guys brought it up earlier. We haven't really touched on it though. Why did the entire time I feel like music played? And it was always music that usually wraps up a scene. Just the tone of it was always they're saying something profound and they're actually not saying anything at all.
No, but the way that it sounds makes it feel like it, right?
It pans to a sunset,
Yeah.
and then then it's the music's about to close, and I'm like, already? I'm 2 minutes in. The opening credits just finished.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. Maybe part of it plays into the chaos of it. Why even in the beginning it feels 2 minutes in, this is ending a scene, the pillows are kicking into high gear and playing this song that's gonna it feels it's the end of this important revelation when it wasn't at all. But I think that plays into maybe the adolescence and feeling everything is a big deal. At least that's how I've always felt that. I've always felt that when you're a kid everything feels like a big deal. And it really isn't. Now that I'm an adult, I'm damn, it really was not that serious. And so to throw in that kind of epic music, I hadn't really even thought about now, but now that you mention it, maybe it is providing that feeling. Maybe it's providing that feeling of I fucking did it, this is a big deal to me. It's kid, everyone goes through this. So,
yeah. I guess when you are a teenager, everything is
it's life or death.
A discovery, like you said. Everything is brand new, and it's a huge deal. That's it. Episode's done. You can go home now.
It is fascinating to put it through that lens and make these revelations kind of these big monster fights or just big sweeps of character because everyone goes through it, but also it's nice to know that everyone goes through it. And it's nice to know that it feels so extreme because it felt so extreme to you, And so yeah, I think that's long answer short. I feel that's maybe the reason that the pillows kicked it into high gear during those big moments.
The entire time.
Otherwise it's the entire time. Otherwise it's like hard to know for sure because the anime is so like just all over the place and like madcap crazy that it's like you could have just told me that they just kind of felt like it, and I would have been like, yeah, you're right.
It kind of feels like it, honestly. I haven't thought about that, but I do like your reading on that. But it's yeah, I don't really have an answer. It's just something about it just like fits in this chaotic show that we're in, right? I don't know why. I don't know like if they were given direction to do it this way. But it's something that just sticks out, but it sticks with me.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it.
In my inevitable rewatch, now that it'll be like closer to rewatching, I'll rewatch it, more often in the next coming years. I'll try to keep that in mind and be like, okay, is there reason for it to kick into high gear now? Is there more consistent reason?
Maybe it's good to rewatch it with that on the mind.
Yeah. Right? That way I'm actively thinking about
something out of it. Yeah.
It seemed to be important because they also brought the theme of music in a lot.
They do.
For some reason.
His super powerful guitar.
Which is weird because music is one of the most logical things. There is a clear rule of like what's good, what's bad.
Yeah.
And even if when it's up for interpretation, we can still break down a song and go, this was actually musically pretty fucking good. Like Nickelback. Has some of the best musicians in the like I think one of the guitarists was like listed as one of the top guitarists in the world for a time. I don't know if he still is, but I mean that's up there with like Clapton and Slash,
Tom Morello.
So many. But so my theory about the music is it keeps you emotional. In a weird way because they were all heightened like pieces in like that kind of like discovery moment because it just kept, even though it kept doing it over and over, you were at all times feeling kind of emotional about a moment when you just watch a simple scene, which I guess that's kind of speaking to the adolescence high emotions at all times. And then also it was kind of protagonist music, so maybe like you're the protagonist of your story at all times. Like you are never not the main character.
Yeah, you're never the side character in your own like head.
Yeah, and so maybe that was like kind of like a kid or a teenager always with their headphones plugged in, watching the world with a soundtrack.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is good music, though. That was honestly.
Are you gonna listen to more of the Pillows?
Oh yeah, I've been listening even before Fooly Cooly. I didn't know that they had any significance to Fooly Cooly. I just knew that their stuff was. There was a guy because I went to Douglas Anderson, right?
Yeah.
So there was a guy who was really into the Pillows. He never talked about Fooly Cooly. So I imagine he was just. He was probably a big fan, but also just talked about the Pillows in general, being one of his favorite bands. This was also an interesting kid. Like I could imagine him having a lot of those. Okay, so we go to art school. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So everyone's trying really hard to be an artist. We all have a vision of what an artist is in our heads. So this guy would do a lot of things that were like, huh, like he was a weird kid at an art school.
Yeah.
Like, and that doesn't go back, 180 and say that you're actually pretty normal.
Yeah.
Right.
You take it to another level at that point, and I think this guy definitely did that. Well, this guy would be the type too. He was a piano major, and he would like sit there and like mime playing piano in the middle of class. No headphones or anything, just doing this, Other times he came to school with his hair trying to do a Beethoven part.
Yeah.
But he had a fro.
Oh, okay. I see.
So,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple times you would see him, like a really tall, lanky guy, like running around the courtyard. No one knew why. It's not like there was anything that anyone was in a hurry to do. He would just have this like really low tucked run, and like just this lanky kid, so limbs everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's lunchtime. Where's he in a hurry to? No one ever knew. Just bags flying, papers flying behind him and stuff too. And you're like, You can picture, right? It's a cartoon.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
Actually, an anime character.
Actually, an anime
Absolutely.
character. He was the actual lead. We were actually all the side characters.
We're the side characters,
Yep.
100%.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I think, he maybe this was the influence.
Uh-huh.
Formative
Sounds like
years.
a Fooly Cooly nerd. Yeah.
It
yeah.
does. It definitely sounds like one.
It's really
Yeah.
cool. Like Fooly Cooly was the reason why pillows got so big in the West.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I would say
this
so.
is where they exploded onto like a worldwide stage because they've been playing for a long time. Prior to that, like I think like 10 years prior to that or
Yep.
whatever. And then when Fooly Cooly hit, that's like they exploded in popularity after that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always cool. Like they're still playing today and they still drop new albums occasionally, and I'm just
They
like,
do.
that's very cool. Like I remember Max came to me like I want to say like 5 years ago or something like that. He was like, he discovered like a new album, and I was like, I haven't heard the Pillows in forever. What the fuck? They're still going? Hell yeah!
They're still
You know?
going strong.
That's fucking awesome.
Having this discussion actually makes me want to, at some point today, just put on the headphones and bang on the drums to some the pillows.
I just saw that Asian Kung Fu Generation came out with an album too.
Oh, word.
I fucking love
Oh.
Asian Kung Fu Generation.
Me
That's
too.
worth checking out.
I will front to back like most of their albums.
Asher,
What's up?
you're over here for me, so Asher.
Uh-huh.
He's up here for me.
I'm looking down.
Yeah, we can't look at each other. Yeah.
What's up?
I think we're still talking about music and like emotional impact.
Mhm.
Really random, but Paul and I were watching this guy who he's a bassist and he reviews like bassist videos and people send him stuff just to grade how good was the bass actually.
Yeah.
This guy in his video graded anime basis, so on the accuracy of the animation and then also the music that they played.
Mhm.
Fooly Cooly actually made it on there randomly because she uses a bass and like hits people with it.
Yeah.
That's it. He was just like, can't tell how well played bass. All I see is her attack with it. gets a 5 out of 10 from me.
Not a 5 out of 10.
That's perfect.
But he did Bochi.
Okay.
And he played a song that was actually apparently it was like 2 episodes after where I had stopped.
Yeah.
And I had no context behind the song.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the song and I got chills. I got emotional. And I didn't
Oh,
even
I know
why.
what song it is. I know what song. I'm pretty sure I know what song it is. I'm pretty sure it's what's her name playing.
Oh, Kikuris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
yes,
willing to
probably
bet that is the
It's probably
song.
that.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
It's
Well,
funny that we can point it out immediately.
Yup.
Yeah, I'm like, shit, I'm the one speaking. I feel like they just did a whole language over
It's
here.
like it's like the bass song of the series, which is fascinating because like Bochi's band's bassist is incredibly talented, probably the most talented of the 4, at least in terms of like more put together, like
raw talent and
Yeah.
technical.
well, like everything like put together. Bochi, I would say like from like just raw talent is to like top, but what's her name? The blue hair is like she's got it all figured. She's got it a little bit more figured out very clearly than everyone else. But there is a character that kind of like has an interest to Bochi who is an adult, and she fucking tears it up.
Oh, the drunkard.
Yeah, the drunkard. And
Yeah.
so I think that's the song that this. What did he say about the song? Did you like the song?
Yeah, no, it was really, really. He said it was some of the best animation he's seen
Yeah.
for a musician.
Yeah.
So specifically that. But what I was really taken by from the whole video, I mean, it was just funny,
Mhm.
more than anything else. But what I loved though was how emotional I got with the song,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I don't even know what's going on or what the significance of this song is, but I'm like feeling emotional
Yeah.
and like tear jerked, and I couldn't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we watched the episode, and I was like, it actually makes it so much more impactful that song was emotional to me with no like I don't understand the lyrics. That's not the point. It's the song itself somehow was emotional. I'm like, that is cool.
It is really
So
cool.
So I ended up watching a lot more of Bochi because of that one song.
Bochi the Rock.
I love Bochi the Rock, man. I love that. I mean,
I know. I had to share it with you. I was like, I feel like he's gonna be happy that this happened.
I feel unbridled joy uh, at hearing that. That's really sweet because like yeah, it's really fascinating because like a similar thing. Like I vibe with a lot of the songs in Bochi, and you just like feel some type of way. Part of the fun is actually though eventually learning the lyrics because then you realize like the like subject matter of like the songs that are being sung, especially like the OP. Um, when I hear those lyrics, I'm like, oh, this is a song Bochi wrote. You know, once you get into that heft of like when they have that part where she talks about like I have to write this music and I have to do it a certain kind of way, and then um, I can't remember the bassist name, but she's like, this doesn't feel like you. Like just be you. If you're a sad person generally, or you prefer to write about sad things, do that. Don't try to make it fit our singer. Also, and then the turn. Also, it's kind of funny that a person that happy is singing this song, don't you think? You know, and I'm like, that's an energy that I love so much now.
Every 90s song.
Yeah, exactly. It's like really great.
Yeah.
Um. So that's cool, and I don't know. I love that we went from the pillows to Bochi.
When's the Pillows Bochi crossover?
Oh, we were talking. We couldn't figure this out earlier, but the coming of age stories. I mean, that's another one.
Yeah.
Like what do you mean? Like other coming of age stories?
Right. We were like trying to rack our brains for
Like what are your favorite coming of age animes?
Yeah, and saying like how this one was so significantly different. But yeah, that Bochi is also a coming of age
It
tale
is
for sure.
If Skip and Loafer can continue its momentum, I think Skip and Loafer is a really fantastic, like will be a really fantastic coming of age story. I had mentioned Toradora. I had mentioned Haruhi Suzumiya. I'm trying to think of like some. I think Kaguya-sama is a coming of age story.
Okay. Yeah.
Other ones, other coming of age anime, everything Makoto Shinkai does.
Just put Makoto Shinkai.
Yeah, just put the genre Makoto Shinkai.
Ooh, yeah. Actually, thinking about the Garden of Words one. That's an interesting one.
A Silent Voice.
Yep.
It was very coming of age. Fucking Liz and the Bluebird.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Liz and the Bluebird.
I heard. Listen to the Bluebird.
Yeah, Liz and the Bluebird is it's also made by a Silent Voice goon. I'm trying to think of like others. I would have to pull up like a list or something. Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yes.
See?
And
yeah.
Anger management.
Yeah, and anger management.
That's all it is. It's a metaphor about being a teenager and going through anger management.
Basically.
Basically, exactly. So, why did you were about to say something, Rob? Did you think of another one?
Nothing like stands out in my brain.
Nothing
Like
stands
it
out.
bothers me because there's so many of them, and
There's
then,
so
like,
many
when
of
I
them.
sit here trying to think of it, it's just like blank.
Why am I blanking right now?
Why am I blanking?
Yeah. Yep. His and Her Circumstances. I had mentioned that earlier. From same animation studio, so it's gonna look very similar to FLCL. It's been like over 20 years since I've seen this. Was Chobits a coming of age story? It's been that long. I don't remember anything from it.
I don't know because it's been a very long time for me too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would. It wouldn't be one that comes to mind as a coming of age, I guess.
Yeah.
But it probably would fit in there somehow.
Somehow.
I'm pretty sure you could.
Pretty
fit it
broad
in.
genre.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, like
Yeah.
a lot of things can be
Yeah.
interpreted as a coming of age tale. Just depends on what your angle of interpretation is. Because in some ways, Made in Abyss could be considered a coming of age.
It is. Yeah.
Or Loss of Innocence also gets mixed up with the
It
concept
does.
a lot.
It has a tendency to be in that.
March Comes in Like a Lion is one.
Oh, I still haven't seen that, but I hear it's great.
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit? A Place Further Than the Universe.
In the universe. Yep.
Yeah, A Place Further Than the Universe, I think, is also coming
Want
of
to go
age.
on a journey to Antarctica
Yeah, and feel pain.
and feel pain.
Hmm. Well, I love that. Okay.
Sailor
And
Moon.
Sailor Moon is definitely coming
Absolutely.
of age.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Ranma 1/2.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Ranma
my
1/2.
God.
Yep.
classic.
Of classic. Yeah. Same thing with the other work that person has done.
What else did they
You
do?
were say Yatsura?
Oh. Oh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I've
that's-
been meaning to watch the remake of that.
Me too. That's also definitely coming of age. So yeah, I love that. I love that we can. I love that if we loved this, we could watch more. There's so much out there. I don't know if it'll be as like, kind of freeform and art house as FLCL is, but I'm sure you could find one. You know, or as Fujimoto says, if you wanted a wicked FLCL, you can watch Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
I love that. So unfortunately, I didn't make a game, because the past 3 weeks have been a little bit chaotic for me. So I won't miss the mark next time. But I unfortunately couldn't think of like anything that came up. But we kind of played one a little bit, like or we kind of thought about coming of age anime, just like word association anime type of stuff, and we certainly compared it to a lot of other anime. So I think we've covered like some ground there. Next anime that the person that's picking the next anime is Rob, right?
Yeah. I forgot it was me until like last night, and I was like, "Whoa, it's my turn."
Yeah.
I should figure out what to pick.
Yeah.
So we kind of had a running theme for the past couple of picks of like picking an anime that the person that picked it hasn't seen.
Oh, okay.
Right. So there is one that is on my list that people have been telling me to watch. I don't know if you guys have watched it, but it's called Summertime Rendering.
Ah,
Guys,
okay. I haven't seen it.
Watch that? You haven't seen it?
Nope.
Never
Okay.
heard of it.
So I am told to not look into it very hard.
Okay, I'm not.
Like, but the idea of it is, the main character he grows up on an island, and he's living with a family and their 2 daughters, right? As he gets older, he goes to school, I believe to university in Tokyo, and he
Okay.
gets a message to come back to the island. When he comes back, one of the girls that he grew up with drowned, so he's coming back for the funeral.
Okay.
Apparently there's more to it than that.
Yeah. And then we go from there.
And there's a mystery to solve.
A mystery?
So I am told it's really good. It gets high marks on like my anime list and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's fairly recent, like I think within the last couple of seasons.
Yep.
It aired.
Pretty new one.
So I think that would be a fun assignment to check out.
Hell
I feel
yeah.
like you've hyped this up the same way you guys hyped up Made in Abyss for me.
Yeah.
Where you give this like really vague storyline and there's a mystery to be solved, guys.
Yeah.
There's a mystery to be solved. In this case, I don't know what it is.
Welcome to the party, Rob.
I can't wait till
Glad to be here, y'all.
I can't wait till JSB Anime does a murder mystery party.
Oh my god.
I actually have one I've been waiting to do. It's one of those kids like murder mysteries.
Yeah, when are we
kits.
doing it?
I haven't opened it yet. I will plan the menu and we shall do thing.
Yeah, when are we doing it? Give me the southern guy. Or give me the guy with the Savannah accent.
Oh God.
It's like that scene from The Office. What's it called? You're speaking with more of a Florida Panhandle accent. You gotta speak with a Savannah accent, as
my
if
God.
molasses is just spilling out your mouth.
He's having way too much fun with us. I'm a little
End
bit
the show. End the show. It's over.
I cannot wait to be like a southern goon in a murder mystery, and then it turns out I'm the guy that dies, so I don't even get to talk for like.
That would be your luck, honestly.
That would be. I'm just really sad. I'm like a dead body, and I'm hanging around the murder mystery party, and I'm just like, I didn't get to do anything. I wanted to do
Rob,
a lot
what's
of
the name of
things.
this one again? Sorry.
Summertime Rendering.
Summertime Rendering.
I believe it's on Crunchyroll.
Hell yeah.
Interesting.
Very excited.
Oh, it is very highly rated. Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, goons. Without further ado, any goodbye messages and where can people find you, Rob?
You can find me on Final Fantasy 16 because that game is consuming my life.
Yeah.
You can follow us at Jack Savage Base on Twitter to figure out whenever we do the Gamescast or when the AnimeCast goes up. Everything gets posted there. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Zenosuke, ZNOSUKE, where I'm just probably going to tweet about Final Fantasy 16.
Yes.
And how that game is pretty cool, and how the font size of that game is terrible. I can't read even with my glasses.
His brand new glasses.
My brand new one. I'm like, all right, I am ready for the video game. I can now see a little bit further than I can before. And then I'm still like...
Oh
Your
my
age
God.
is showing, Rob.
Oh no. This is not a boomer-friendly game.
It is not.
Final Fantasy 16 is for the Zoomers.
Zoomers only. It's not my Final Fantasy.
That's so funny. What about you, Jenny? Where can people find you, or do you have any goodbye messages?
Oh man, stay in school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where you'll find me, honestly. We are still doing a lot of band practice, so hopefully we'll be able to announce a gig soon.
Hell yeah.
Hoping for sometime end of July or early August we'll be performing at an opening for a bar.
Ooh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, so as soon as I get that, I'll try and share it here.
Hell yeah, I love that. And then me, you can find me on this channel. Who knows what game I'll stream? I want to stream Dredge. Dredge is a game that I want to stream soon. And you can also find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram doing all kinds of wacky shenanigans. Or at your local card game store playing magical cards.
Whoa.
So yeah. Other than that, you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. Hopefully we gave you a good ending to your week. And as you get your... Or if you're going to be listening on the recording, you'll get a good start to your week as you listen to this on Monday. So yeah, everyone take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.